here's my desktop, and you can see here the 4 EPS files that we'll be working with today. So these are vector format files, which will allow us to place these in Photoshop, and this will be a non-destructive process. In other words, we won't lose any quality. And by using these files, we're saving a lot of time and we're cheating. Why spend time creating these from scratch when you can use some existing collections? And we'll be using my existing vintage grit textures collection and my hand illustrated polygons collection as well in this demonstration. Okay, so to start off, let's go ahead and create a new Photoshop document. I'm making it 8.5 by 11 inches here at 300 dpi. So that's going to give us a nice sized document here. And we'll start off, here's Photoshop obviously. We'll start off, let me drag this out of the screen a little bit. And first off, we want to get these EPS files into Photoshop. So a great way to do it is to just grab it from your desktop and place it right in Photoshop. I'll click the check icon here to accept, and that will commit that file. Okay, and let's go ahead and grab the second one. We'll drag it and drop it. There we go. Now we have 2 polygons here, and you could actually grab multiple files at once. So that's what I'll do this time. I'll go ahead and drag both of these in here. I'll place both textures. Awesome. All right, so now we have all 4 elements here in Photoshop. And we can resize these, we can scale them, we can apply color to them, layer effects, and we will never lose quality because these are currently smart objects here in Photoshop. So we can make them small, we can make them big, and always go back and forth between sizing. Unlike if you were to just paste a JPEG in here and you made it small, you scaled it small, then you scaled it large again, you'd lose quality. That's not going to happen to us since we're using these EPS files. So first off, let me go ahead and give my background a color here. I've selected a swatch, and I'm going to hit Alt-Shift-F5, which is going to go ahead and fill this document with my background color. Okay. All right, so now I'll go ahead and take both of these layers. So I have the outline polygon and the solid polygon. I want to resize these. I want to make them a little bit bigger. So I've selected both layers by shift clicking, and now I will hold down on shift again and grab onto these corners here. And if I hold shift, that will allow me to scale these elements without distorting them. All right, I'll hit the check mark, or I just hit the check mark up here to go ahead and commit my resize. All right, so I'll click on this object, and down here I'm going to go ahead and click on the layer styles to add a layer style. Now this is off the screen, but on this drop down I'm going to go ahead and select color overlay. And from here, ooh, that's a nice color. I'll go ahead and select off-white here. Make it a little bit warmer. All right, there we go. And I'll leave this this dark gray color. And now you can see, I'm going to go ahead and select the outline polygon layer here. And I'll go ahead and shift it around. I'll move it around by just tapping the arrow keys. So that's a nice vintage offset look on that element. So now let's go ahead and apply some textures to these layers. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show one of the textures. There we go. And that texture is applying to most of my document here. I only want it to apply to my hand illustrated polygon element here. So I'm going to go ahead and shift click, select 3 layers, and click this create new group layer, and that will give me a folder with those 3 layers I had selected. Now, I'll double click over here on the right hand side of this grit texture layer, and that will bring up my layer style palette. I'm going to select knockout shallow. If I were to select knockout deep, that would apply the knockout effect to my entire document. I only want to apply it to the layers in the folder that are below the texture layer. So I'll click OK, and we haven't seen any change yet. Well, now I need to go ahead and select my fill and drop it from 100% to 0%. Now you can see that vintage texture effect has been applied only to these hand illustrated polygons, only to the elements below it within this folder. So this kind of gives it that vintage gritty look, almost like a worn out t-shirt, for example. And I can resize this layer. I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger as I see fit. It's really up to me. And like I mentioned before, this is a smart layer. It's an EPS file, so I can scale it to infinity and I will never lose quality. Okay, now I want to go ahead and apply a texture to the entire document. We're almost finished here. It doesn't quite fill my document right now, this other texture. So I'll go ahead and hold down on Shift, grab a corner, and scale it up. There we go. And right now it's a black color. I want it to be kind of a darker orange color to complement my background. So I'll click Layer Effects again. And this is off the screen, but I'm selecting the Color Overlay option. And here it's like a white grit because this is selecting what I used last time. But I want to go ahead and make it, I'll sample this orange. Now I can't see anything, but now I'll make it a little bit darker. Let's see, not too dark. All right, so there we go. All right, so just a quick recap. We placed EPS files in the Photoshop document. We resized them. We applied colors to them. And then we applied a vintage grit texture. So our completed design here is a nice vintage look. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial here. I hope you got something useful out of it. And a quick little review. We used my vintage grit textures collection and my hand illustrated polygons collection. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I will be sending more awesome videos like this your way.